Okay, guys, here we go on the 6-2 cross-up planning. Shaka boom, shaka bam. So there we are with the Bisland tragedy. And there was the line of the day, and it was this line, the 40th gate, sixth line, decapitation, the necessary destruction of inferior forces in positions of power before liberation can take place. And its most extreme, that is the earth exemplified by the terror of the French Revolution, where the idea of who's deserving its punishment was cruelty extend to an entire class. This distortion of the ego through power and authority, decapitation. Migration, understand that when you move, you have to change your habit. That means that in order to create a new environment, you have to have propaganda and conditioning. It has to be enforced. Those that do not follow must be destroyed. Those that do not agree must be destroyed. Even in the most positive, you're seeing simply the integrity to remove only the worst of forces. Now, there's these two kinds of migration. There's the fifth line migration that says, let's go to the next valley and create our own world. And there's the sixth line migration that says, let's go to the new valley to prepare to come back and conquer what is really ours. That's a different story. And one of the things that is that the movement to migration is always based on the sense that the bargain somehow has been broken, that there's a need to establish a new structure in order to make things fair. So imagine that you're dealing with a system which is feudal. You have a tribe that operates at a feudal level, where you have one family that basically controls the wealth of the tribe. Everybody else gets punished around. Here you have the 40th gate, sixth line. They don't start a revolution. They don't. They make sure that they find allies that simply want to live with them under the guise of migration, under the guise of let's go to another valley. Let's get away from these people. They're sucking us dry. They're taxing us to death, and then they go to the other valley. And while they're in that on the other way or the other valley, they become to plot because when you leave, you give up so much, and they want to go back and they want to get it. Now look, in this wonderful movie of ours that you're going to go along here, and you get to the 40th gate, the hut is going to end. You're going to end up going into the mind. You're going to go through definition. You're going to go through the 6447. Think about the tribe as a genetic pool for a moment, and think about what migration really is. Migration is the division of a genetic pool, and the moment the human beings, the two genetic pools are separated from each other, they automatically both attract and repel. It's just an obvious. They automatically attract and repel, and that everything at the deepest level of the tribal warrior, the 26th gate, at the deepest level of the tribal warrior, is to make sure that another genetic pool doesn't dominate over ours. Why do you think that genocide is such a common thing? And it's much more common than our history will admit. Genocide is an old game. You go in, you kill all the men, you kill all the boys, you impregnate the women, you bring them into your genetic pool, you expand your genetic pool, and you move forward. So when you're dealing with decapitation, what I want you to understand about this is a kind of attempt to refine the genetic pool. And out of that, you can get very kind of horror story you want. But after all, it's a mutative process. It's about controlling the genetic pool. So you split up the pool. The six goes to the other valley, and then it waits, and it waits, and then it comes back, and it tries to destroy the other genetic pool that it came from to dominate. Almost every simple thing that you can imagine about antiquity and the movement of culture is entirely based on this process. Go to a different valley, eventually go back and kill. And when I say go back and kill, it's not in a lifetime. Please don't misunderstand it. I'm not understanding about 20 years later you come back and do that. In fact, historically, it takes thousands of years, and then you end up with a culture that's developed over here and a culture that's developed over there. And they're automatically going to be in a conflict, automatically. And in order for one culture to dominate, it needs to destroy the potential of the genetic pool, and it does. Where are the Etruscans? What happened to her? Where the hell are they? They got wiped out. Only the blood of the women survives. They were eliminated and their culture absorbed, and instantaneously a much more primitive culture went like a flower. What do you think the Indo Europeans did for the Dravidians? It's such a movie. Anyway, I want you to understand decapitation from this level. By the way, it's very clear on the mundane Weber. After all, this is a definition. It means that there is going to be no way that there's going to be a bargain with forces that are unacceptable. No way. This is a vicious line. So it should be after all. And of course, when you see only in isolation somebody who has just a 40, the sixth line, you will see right away that it operates as a very, very strict denial system. We know that because the six is going to be its tripartite process that we know in which way the movement has been taking us at the place the physiological level was charged with the advent of the rave in the 1781. And what we know is that this need to be separate oneself from the tribe comes in the first 30 years. In other words, in this trial and error 3-3 period, this is when it really gets out there. And remember, they're hermits underneath. It's natural for them to go off and create their own environment and their own environment that operates through their laws and their way, and it's not planning, that is migration. It also says something about the six lines. In genetic continuity, every six line carries decapitation. So, as I said, I know this in my 28 gate six line is often so obvious to me that I should simply kill people in the now because they're useless. They're just taking up space in this unconscious field. They are not doing a very good job filtering. And if my sword was strong enough and sharp enough, I wouldn't have to do the time or be executed. I kill them in a moment. That's what the Sikh says. Take care of the heads. You know that being beheaded, interestingly enough, is a symbol of enlightenment. To lose your head is a very old symbol of enlightenment. How nice. Off with their heads. Decapitation. How wonderful. Well, you know what happens in that all leads to a confusion over the nature of our history. It leads to the problems of trying to make sense of out what partnership is anyway. You can see what happens to duality the moment you have definition. The moment you have definition, duality is subjugated to the bargain. There's no individuality, there's no freedom, there's no oneness. In that sense, it's all just, hey, look, this is the bargain, this is the trap, this is the way, this is how you do it. You provide, you serve, you work, you have children, keep them going, that's it. And you find a little bit of this and that and whatever. Every single theme in this vehicle, the collective, the tribal, the individual, and we still haven't tasted the individual. All we have to deal with this dilemma in this quarter and migration is one of those ways that they try to do it. They try to select the perfect people they come with. They select couples to come, migrate to settle with them. They have a whole new way in which the bargain works in the duality. But the sixth line here is totally wrapped up in this authority. Authority to say no, and not simply to the connector, but no to your right to even exist. The ego is nasty. The ego, through the 26 and 40 you're seeing, is the binary that in order to fight on the material plane for the survival of your children and your friends and your family and all that stuff, man, you got to be tough. There has to be a tough part of you put up with a bargain that doesn't work. You put up with a life that isn't satisfying and still make the sacrifice to the life. You've got to be tough. It's there. They've got to be tough skin. It's also interesting to see the difference between the 37 and the 40. The 37 has a very thin skin. The 40 has a real tough skin. So let's go to the sixth tree. So the sixth tree here basically tries to stop everyone in migration and even connecting or relating to them where they came from. It's a focus on the potential of perfection. And that perfection is not a matter of being able to one. It's not a matter of not finding the right partner. It's only about living in the right society. This is the ultimate statement of the tribe. The tribe said it isn't about being one, it isn't about just having children. The thing that makes it work as if we live in a society where we have support. That's the tribal answer. If your mother and you're having problems with your child, your next door neighbor is a mother who's having problems with their child, you have support. If you're having trouble with your partner, you have support. There are support mechanisms simply that are built in. So then we go to gate 64. Ready to wrap your head about that. Here comes the confusion. Here comes the doubt. Here comes it all.